Syphon Filter was an impressive game from a technical standpoint for the PlayStation 1. It was often overshadowed by more popular games at the time, but anyone familiar with the direction Sony was headed in can easily point to Syphon Filter as the blueprint of Sony's future. Overall, I would say Syphon Filter 1 was a good game, but it did have its fair share of annoying moments, overly long levels, and outright diabolical difficulty spikes. Not to mention that story in Syphon Filter 1 really wasn't all that great either. With only a year of development available to it, Syphon Filter 2 had a lot to prove. But the question is, did they actually make Syphon Filter 2 a better game than the first one, or is this just more of the same? Before we continue with this review, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the hype button. I'm grateful to Jehovah God and Jesus Christ for bringing each and every one of you to my channel, as I know you all could be doing anything right now, but you decide to watch little old me, and I know it's because of them. I hope you all are having a blessed day, and I hope you all enjoyed the video. Now let's get back into it. Syphon Filter 2 picks up where the first game left off, with Gabe and Leon labeled as terrorists after exposing the agency for their involvement with the Syphon Filter virus. Leon is kidnapped and Gabe teams up with Teresa, an ex-agency colleague and friend of theirs. The agency wants the data disk, which is in Gabe's possession. That data disk has all the information about the Syphon Filter virus and the agency's involvement in it. So it's up to Gabe to stop the agency while also using the data disk as a bargaining chip to get Leon back. From the opening of Syphon Filter 2, you can really tell that the developers wanted to crank everything up to 11. It really takes the foundation of the first game, bringing over menus, guns, and animations, but overhauls the entire experience by cutting out the filler and pushing for a tighter design. The first game had multiple objectives to complete in each mission, but it was a clear line between when an objective would start and finish, making the first game feel more like a checklist rather than a flowing turn of events like how Syphon Filter 2 does it. Just in the first mission, you go from parachuting to scouting, running and gunning, flanking the enemy, to sniping and defending your friends. Each of these objectives are calculated perfectly with the right amount of time to be memorable while also not overstaying their welcome. The mission structure has been greatly improved from the first game, and the confusing objectives and crazy difficulty spikes are almost eliminated. Now, where Syphon Filter 2 mostly stays the same is in its gameplay. The gunplay is still a combination of lock-on aiming and first-person shooting, although the first-person aiming does feel a lot more responsive in this game compared to the first. So does the character's movements, which felt like I was moving on the moon before, and now it feels more like I'm running against heavy wind. Yeah, that floaty walking isn't gone, but it's a lot quicker and more responsive than before, which is a great improvement. It's understandable why this game feels this way, considering that this is one of the earliest games to use motion capturing for its movement. And let's be fair and say that for the PlayStation 1, this is probably the best they could have done at the time. I remember pressing the D-pad so hard to move Gabe in the first game, it felt like my thumb sunk into the D-pad. And that never happened in the second game, which is a great improvement because I'm telling you, the first game's movement, you could get used to it, but there were times where I could literally feel my thumb pulsating from holding down that button for so long because he just wouldn't move unless you press the button all the way down. Everything is a bit more snappy, but the shooting hasn't really evolved that much, and that's kind of okay. Instead of overhauling the combat, they instead created enemies and scenarios that complemented what they had from the first game to make it work a lot better. There were times in the first game where you need to pop off headshot at the headshot, and that really wasn't that easy to do with that slow moving cursor. And you had to memorize enemy spawn points because Ben Studios at that time thought it was a great idea to increase difficulty by having enemies spawn behind you out of nowhere. Now, those annoying spawn points do happen at like the very end of Syphon Filter 2. Like I was even getting a little bit of rage bait flashbacks there, but they really aren't as egregious as the first game. A new addition to the enemies are what I like to call the headhunters. Some enemies are locked onto your head, and if you wait too long, they will drop you in one shot. Syphon Filter 2 uses the same danger system as the first game. Basically, the closer you are to an enemy or if they spot you out in the open, your danger meter will grow. Once the bar is full, their accuracy increases, making it more likely that they'll actually hit you. rolling or hiding behind cover can break their lock on, and this is your main line of defense against every enemy type. Only problem is that there are armored headhunters. Now, anyone wearing armor requires you to get a headshot to kill them effectively. Trying to lock on and hipfire any armored baddie will have you wasting bullets and time. So when you add armor to a headhunter, especially one thrown in with other enemies, you can find yourself getting popped in the head out of nowhere. Now, anytime a headhunter's around, a warning sign will pop up telling you that they're locked onto your head, and if you wait too long, you'll get shot. But remember what I said, any armored enemy, the best thing to do is to shoot them in the head, otherwise you basically can't kill them. The issue is that when you're facing a headhunter, you go in first person, that warning sign goes away. So if you're ever in a situation where you're already fighting enemies that aren't headhunters, but they have on armor, you're already in first person. You're already just shooting from that direction. You won't know that you're being locked on by a headhunter until you're basically dead. I can't tell you how many times I've been blindsided by one of these buttholes, and if they simply would have kept that headhunter warning up while in first person, this problem really wouldn't exist. Syphon Filter 2's gunplay may seem outdated, but I gotta say the lock-on and precision aiming combo still holds up to me, and if you're willing to give it a chance, I think you'll like it too. Guns do feel powerful, and there's even dynamic damage based on where you strike your enemy. Syphon Filter 2 tries to take it another step further by having a heavier emphasis on stealth. Crouch walking is all you got, but it's way smoother and speedier than it was before. To add to the new stealthy approach, you do get a combat knife and a taser so you can take enemies out quietly. On occasion, stealth is mandatory, but anytime you were given the option, I took the option of the slow and steady approach, picking off the bad guys one by one, up close and personal, because I felt it was a little bit more engaging than just shooting the enemies from afar. Again, this is just another example of them improving on the first game by simply reworking enemy placement and behavior to give the player a better stealth segment than what was in the first game without much work. Now, don't get me wrong. As much as I applaud them for the stealth in this game, there were times I had to pray to Jehovah God and Jesus Christ for help. The knife's hitbox is hard to read, and a few times I thought I was going to make the slice, but only end up missing the cut. And of course, you still have your silenced pistol if you need to take anybody out from afar, quietly. And I want to give this game some credit for how accurate the first person aiming is, because there are a couple of times where I needed to hit an enemy and only like a very tiny piece of them were peeking out around cover, and that was enough to do damage to them. And you got to remember that back in this time, games weren't that accurate when it came to first person aiming back then, so I'm surprised this was even available for me to do. Mission structure was ahead of its time and is a true upgrade over the previous game. You either play as Leon or Gabe, and even though they control identically, due to the events of the story, you'll be tossed into some of the coolest action sequences in gaming, well, at least for the PlayStation 1 era. For a PlayStation 1 game to still be this impressive after all these years is a true testament to the work that Sony Ben put into Syphon Filter 2. A gun battle on a roaring train, a shootout at a Russian nightclub, a bomb disposal on a bridge, and playing undercover in an agency base are just a taste of the best moments in Syphon Filter 2. I was blown away by the variety of events that the developers threw at you. The first game had a few moments that stood out, but it's a continuous lineup of great levels here in Syphon Filter 2. You even revisit a location from the first game, and it's a lot better by removing the arbitrary spawns of the first game, which were only there to make the game longer and to piss you off. Some of my favorite moments in Syphon Filter 2 you can actually find in modern day games, but the difference is the time period. Back then, they trusted the player to figure things out on their own, and that's what makes these moments stand out here compared to today where they hold your hand. As an example, Leon has to sneak around this base and listen to the guards' conversations in order to progress through this door. Listening to dialogue between NPCs like this was uncommon at the time, and I was actually shocked to see how close this mission is to present day gaming. Missions that use night vision are made better here by the fully black and green design versus the green filter that the first game used, which would technically be more realistic, but it just didn't look that great in the first game. Anytime the night vision popped up, it reminded me of Splinter Cell, which, keep in mind, came years after Syphon Filter, And I wouldn't be surprised if Splinter Cell was inspired by Syphon Filter at least a little bit. Another mission had me following alongside this car to sneak past these guards, and again you have to figure this out on your own as the game doesn't tell you what to do, but it becomes obvious with trial and error. The bomb disposal on the bridge hints to the bomb's locations if you pay attention in the cutscene, and if you miss it, you may be stuck. There were a lot of moments like this in Syphon Filter 2, like the boss fight in the snow where you need to snipe out the lights in order to win. The game informs you that you can shoot the lights out, but they don't just tell you. If you pay attention to the boss, you'll see him shooting lights out along the way as you chase after him, telling you the player that you can do the same thing. Now I did pray to Jehovah God and Jesus Christ because even though I figured I could shoot the lights out, every time I did, he would just find me and shoot me, but they showed me the right spot to stand in where I wouldn't alert him. Syphon Filter 2 basically terminates every issue I had with the first game. Now that doesn't mean that this game is perfect. Like I said, they almost got rid of every issue, but not all the issues. One bad moment, which I will deem a health hazard, actually takes place in the nightclub. In the nightclub, there's a moment where you fight on a dance floor and there's these flashing lights that in the footage you're seeing, I'm going to slow down because I don't want anyone to get hurt. I had to pray to Jehovah God and Jesus Christ to make sure that I was fine because I don't know, maybe back then they didn't know that epilepsy was a thing. I don't think I have that, but just in case, I didn't want to keep staring at this screen. I got to be honest. It was hurting my eyes to play through this moment, and I died a few times too, so that means I had to keep doing it. Stepping away from health hazards, there was a moment where I had to jam this camera in one of the later missions. Now to cycle through your weapons in this game, there's a quick swap menu, which is what you'll be using for 99% of the game. Except for this one mission where there's a few gadgets that you need to jam cameras and to hack into the computers. For whatever reason, these items don't pop up when you're quick swapping, and I didn't even know I had it on my person. So I was stuck here until Jehovah God and Jesus Christ explained to me what I need to do. Not only did they show me I had to equip it, but I actually had to press the action button to activate it. I thought I just need to stand near it and it would somehow work, but I just kept losing every time I tried. Now, another annoying part is near the end of the game. You face off these fully armored guards, which you never fought before. And these guys can only die with explosives. Going back to how games back in the day used to subtly teach the player things without blatantly telling them, when you fight the first armored guard, he might shoot something in the environment that causes an explosion, which does kill him. Prior to this, you probably don't have any explosives on you, so you just think that all you could do is run past all the guards, and that's what I did. But little did I know that there's actually a secret grenade launcher that you can easily miss, and if you do not get it, you will have barely any ammo for the later part of this mission. Near the end, they directly just hand you a grenade launcher, but you don't really have enough ammo. If you don't take out 2 guards in one blast, you basically can't beat this mission. And even if you make it all the way through and activate the computer, one more guard spawns in. And once again, Jehovah God and Jesus Christ had to help me and teach me to go behind this door and hide and just basically pull a rope-a-dope on this enemy to get past them, because otherwise you're just going to keep dying here. So yeah, I think this is bad game design because the fact that I had to resort to shenanigans to get past this one guard when this other grenade launcher shouldn't have been a secret item that you could miss. It should have just been something along the way for the player to grab. And of course, like many games of this era, they will up the difficulty by throwing you into near-death situations with only a few health packs near the end and less checkpoints. Now, to be fair, this was annoying, but this is a lot better than the first game where they just spawned enemies behind you like after you cleared a room, and that was beyond annoying. That was almost unplayable at times. The final issue I have with Syphon Filter 2 is its story. The story itself is not an improvement at all over the first game. Syphon Filter 2 is great for turning your brain off and treating the cutscenes as a break between the gameplay, but that's about it. Yes, you will grow to like Leon and Gabe more than you did in the first game. The new characters and the old ones that return are well voice acted, and the graphics are a bit better than the first game, but outside of a few key bullet points, I wouldn't be able to tell you anything about this game's story because that's just how crazy it is. And no, I'm not using crazy in a good way. I'm using crazy in a it's so stupid that you just kind of stop paying attention after a while. And even reviewers back when the game first came out admitted that the story wasn't all that well told, and I have to agree with them. The story is confusing and really doesn't know what it's trying to be. It's good at holding your attention, but unlike other story-heavy games at the time, they really don't get you involved in every little detail. Syphon Filter 2 is more of a straight up action movie. You are here to see things blow up and see cool spies do cool things. I personally love a good government conspiracy story, but it's irrelevant if I can't follow along with what's happening. There were a couple of plot twists that got me, but I feel if it was written better, I would have been more invested than I am now. Syphon Filter 2 took mostly everything wrong with the first game and fixed it, focusing on the strengths of the first game while polishing them up to such a degree that it makes you feel like the whole game got an overhaul. While the story is still lacking, the core gameplay and set pieces of Syphon Filter 2 still hold up well today and is worth playing for anyone wanting to try something retro for the first time, or for people who simply want to revisit a game from their past. There's even a multiplayer component to Syphon Filter 2, but sadly I can't comment on that as it's only available through local play. Syphon Filter 1 was a solid game, but the later levels pissed me off so bad that I hesitated to jump on 2. But I'm glad I did, as Jehovah God and Jesus Christ blessed me with another great game to add to my library. Thank you all for watching this review. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the hype button. I'm grateful for Jehovah God and Jesus Christ for each and every one of you for stopping by, as I know you guys could be watching or doing anything right now, but you guys decided to watch little old me, and I know it's because of them. I hope you all enjoyed the review. I hope you guys try out Syphon Filter 2, and I hope you all have a blessed day. Peace out, keep gaming, and I'll see you guys in the next video.